Shivaya Namas Somaya Shashanka Dharaya Cha Namo Bhakta Priyaya Iva Namas Shankara Murtaye. What is true devotion? Is it found only in temples adorned with lamps and chants? Or does it shine brightest in the ordinary lives of those who choose faith over fear, sacrifice over self, and discipline over desire? The saints of Lord Shiva, known as the Nayanmars, lived not as distant gods, but as ordinary men and women who turned their lives into offerings. Their stories remind us that devotion is not always loud, not always grand, but sometimes quiet, hidden, tested, and yet unshakable. Among them, two saints stand out like twin flames, each burning in a different way. Tiru Neelakanta Nayanar, the humble porter, and Iyarpahai Nayanar, the generous merchant. Their lives show us that devotion may take the form of discipline and purity or the form of fearless giving. But in both, the Lord Himself is revealed. In the holy city of Tamil Nadu, where the great temple houses the cosmic dance of Nataraj, lived Tiru Neelakanta Nayanar, a potter by trade. His craft was simple, clay bowls shaped by calloused hands, baked in the fire, sold in the marketplace. Yet to him, each bowl was more than clay. It was a prayer molded with love and offering of service. When Lord Shiva's devotees passed his way, he never let them leave empty-handed. To them, he gave his bowls freely, with reverence, believing that in serving them, he served Lord Shiva himself. Every gift, no matter how small, became a sacred act. Such was his joy, that even in the dust of daily life, he saw the divine shining. But even the noblest hearts face trials. One day, in a moment of weakness, Neelakanta wandered into the house of a courtesan. The lapse was brief, but his wife, pure in spirit, sensed the shadow it cast. She did not raise her voice, nor did she condemn him. Instead, she bore the sorrow silently, and in a moment of resolve, she placed a boundary between them. With trembling voice, yet firm heart, she said, "In the name of God, do not touch us." Her words, simple yet sacred, bound them both. Though spoken only for herself, her vow became his vow, and from that day he too resolved never to touch another woman. From that minute, their marriage became a companionship of the soul. They lived side by side, united not by touch but by discipline, their love purified into devotion. The neighbors never knew, for there were no proclamations, no outward signs. It was a hidden fire burning steadily year after year. This is the mystery of devotion. Sometimes it is not in grand temples, but in the quiet endurance of a promise, in the silence of a vow kept before God. Years passed until one day a wandering ascetic appeared at their door. His body was smeared with ash, his eyes sharp with the fire of tapas, his form radiating the aura of one who lives beyond the world. With humility, Neelakanta welcomed him. The ascetic handed over a small begging bowl, saying, "Guard this carefully. It purifies all it touches. Keep it safe until I return." Neelakanta received it as though it were a treasure. Yet, when the ascetic returned days later, the bowl was gone. No one knew how, or no one knew why. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed it. The ascetic grew stern, accusing Neelakanta of theft. Ashamed, Neelakanta offered to replace it with many bowls of greater worth, but the ascetic refused. Instead, he demanded an oath that Neelakanta must hold his wife's hand and swear his innocence. Here the vow was tested. Neelakanta stood firm. I cannot touch her. In the name of the Lord, we vowed never to touch one another again. The matter was brought before the Brahmins of the town. With humility, the couple revealed their secret. To prove their truth, they held each end of a stick, never touching each other, and together entered the temple tank. The crowd gasped as they emerged from the waters, transformed, youthful, radiant, their bodies glowing with the beauty of inner purity. At that minute, the ascetic revealed himself as Lord Shiva, with Ma Parvati at his side. The heavens opened with divine light, and the Lord spoke. Because you have upheld your vow with purity and devotion, you shall dwell with me eternally, ever youthful, beyond decay and death. Thus, Neelakanta was lifted into the grace of the Lord, his ordinary life revealed as extraordinary in its hidden faith. This story teaches us that even when frailty touches us, devotion purifies, when it is rooted in sincerity and discipline. What matters is not the fall, but the vow to rise again in the name of the divine. Far away in the thriving port city in Tamil Nadu lived Iyarpahai Nayanar, a merchant whose wealth was measured not in gold but in generosity. His house was open to every devotee of Lord Shiva. His vow was simple but absolute, that no seeker would ever leave his door in want. To him, every guest was Lord Shiva himself, every request the voice of the Lord. Word of his charity spread far and wide, for no one had ever been turned away from Iyarpahai's home. One day, Lord Shiva came disguised as a Brahmin ascetic, his body smeared with ash, his form carrying the mystery of renunciation. Iyarpahai Nayanar welcomed him with folded hands, offering food, water, and rest. Then the ascetic made his request. Promise to grant me what I ask. Without hesitation, Iyarpahai replied, If it is within my means, it is already yours. The ascetic then asked for the most unthinkable gift, Iyarpahai's wife. The request pierced the heart, but Iyarpahai did not falter. He saw not a man before him, but the Lord Himself in disguise. To serve the devotee was higher than all worldly laws, higher even than his own attachment. He calmly told his wife. Shocked, she wept at first, but then, with courage, she replied, If this is your command, then it is my duty to obey. Together, they prepared to leave with the ascetic. But her relatives soon heard of it, and their fury knew no bounds. They gathered weapons, determined to kill the Brahmin for a sinful demand. The ascetic trembled in feigned fear, but Iyarpahai's wife reassured him, saying, Do not fear, my husband will protect you. And indeed, Iyarpahai stood like a lion. Against his own kin he fought, his body cut and bloodied, but his resolve unbroken. For to him, protecting a devotee of Lord Shiva was worth more than life itself. At last, they reached the temple. There the Brahmin turned to Iyarpahai and said, You may return now. With reverence, Iyarpahai bowed, leaving his wife with the ascetic. But as he walked away, a voice called him back. When he turned, the disguise had fallen away. Before him stood Lord Shiva, radiant with Ma Parvati. The Lord's voice thundered with compassion. Your devotion has pleased me beyond measure. For your courage, your generosity, your unwavering surrender, you and your wife shall dwell with me eternally. In that moment, both were lifted into the Lord's abode, and even the slain relatives were granted liberation, redeemed by the power of Iyarpahai's devotion. His story teaches us that true charity is not giving what is easy, but surrendering what is dearest without hesitation, trusting that nothing offered to God is ever lost. The lives of Tiru Neelakanta Nayanar and Iyarpahai Nayanar remind us that devotion is not confined to temples or rituals. It is a fire that burns in the choices we make, in the vows we uphold, in the courage to give even when the heart trembles. Tiru Neelakanta teaches us that the soul is purified not by perfection, but by the strength to rise from weakness with discipline and faith. Iyarpahai Nayanar teaches us that devotion shines brightest when we surrender without hesitation, even what is most dear, trusting that nothing given to God is ever truly lost. Two saints, two paths, yet one truth. When the heart places the divine above all else, the Lord Himself descends. He may come as a wandering ascetic. He may come as a challenging request. He may come as a test hidden in sorrow. But always, He comes to reveal that faith is never in vain. And this is the lesson for us. We may not be asked to fight our own kin or give up our closest bond, but every day we are asked, will you keep your vow to truth, to compassion, to faith? Will you give? Will you trust? Will you surrender? If we do, then even in the humblest home, even in the simplest life, the eternal Lord will walk in, and our small acts of devotion will open the door to boundless grace. True devotion does not merely seek God in the heavens. It transforms life itself into a temple, the heart into an altar, and every action into worship. And when devotion becomes our very breath, then like Tiru Neelakanta and Iyarpahai Nayanar, we too shall discover that the divine has been walking beside us all along, waiting only for the flame of our surrender to reveal His eternal embrace. Bhaktoham tava shambho, tava charanagata shankaradhya deva, kim vashesham karishye yadi, mama hridaye shulapane nivasa. When Mahadev dwells in the heart, time bows, the world becomes a temple, and the soul awakens to the truth it was never apart from Him. May Jagatpita Mahadev bless us all. Keep seeking, keep chanting, keep surrendering. Om Namah Shivaya.